I'm Lieutenant Hagerson, Public Information Officer for Pelican Bay State Prison, and I approve this podcast. The views expressed are those of the participants and not necessarily of CDCR or Pelican Bay State Prison.
Hey everyone, Paul here. And before we get going, I want to update you all on the pandemic in Pelican Bay. As of this recording, the 20th day of May 2020, there are currently and have been no cases of COVID-19 among prisoners inside Pelican Bay. In fact, the local community has had a pretty low level of virus activity so far. Lieutenant Hagerson assures me that staff are being screened every time they enter the facility, and both inmates and staff are required to wear face coverings. Volunteer programs, by which I mean people like me, haven't been allowed inside since mid-March. That's the last time I saw any of the guys, though we've been keeping in touch by the U.S. mail. In their letters, the guys describe how life has changed for them inside. Less frequent yard time with only their housing unit, social distancing practices while out of their cells, and the general lassitude that comes with a lockdown scenario, though they've gotten more phone access, which allows them to stay in touch with family more easily. A couple of the guys have said the scene reminds them of what it was like back in 2014, before the return of programming, before the awakening, back when the norm inside was lockdown. And everybody is concerned for their own safety and the safety of their people outside. We've discussed by mail an episode on COVID and the Bay, but the logistics will take some work and the accommodating natures of both the PIO and CRM. We'll keep you posted. All of which gets me to this episode, Episode 2, Outside In. This is the episode we were working on back in March. It focuses on two programs dedicated to empowering the guys in blue and helping them land on their feet when they regain their freedom. In the second half of this episode, the A Yard class checks out Project Rebound, a Bay Area-based endeavor that for the past 50 years has sought to connect inmates in the recently released to California state universities. Earlier this year, Project Rebound sent some of its counselors north to the Bay to reach out to the College of the Redwoods Pelican Bay Scholars, the local inmate community college student group, and offer those students insight and advice concerning the possibility of continuing on to a 4-year degree after they get out. As a thank you, the Pelican Bay Scholars treated the Project Rebound staff and volunteers to a showcase in which they highlighted their prowess in the visual arts, oratory, and spoken word. Marco Garcia, Barry Woods, and Henry Ruiz of the A Yard crew cover all that in this episode. But first, B Yard's Mike Swanigan takes us inside the Criminals and Gang Members Anonymous graduation ceremony that happened back in January. CGA is a program run by the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, one of the biggest, most robust organizations out there working to end mass incarceration in California. The ARC has several such programs in 10 state facilities, all focused on rehabilitation, from making sure prisoners are ready for board to writing and lobbying for legislature that has changed the lives of thousands of Californians incarcerated. Big Mike talks with Sam Lewis, CEO of the ARC, as well as several others involved in steering the work of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. At the end of that segment, we also hear from former lifer and current member of the Hope and Redemption team at Pelican Bay, Mark Taylor, in an interview done in A Yard the day before the graduation. Now, there are several issues with this episode, like our mixer flat out dying for no reason right before we sat down for a big interview for which the interviewer could not be ducketed, or the horrible noise and acoustics of B Yard Visitation. But the guys shine in this episode. They stretch their journalistic wings and deliver great content. Those problems, each was overcome with aplomb. The laptop's audio's okay, I guess, but Marco Garcia, who was there to run the mixer and recording, to be the sound guy basically, well, he got a field promotion to interviewer and stepped up big time. I really want to make a point of the great job he did. Thanks, Marco. Same goes for Barry Woods and Henry Ruiz, who make a great location team with stellar interviewing skills. But the laurel this episode goes to Big Mike Swanigan of B Yard, who gets the CEO of the ARC and several others one-on-one in the loudest, craziest room in the prison, at least that day, and he straight up represents. Thanks, Mike. The class, technically, is audio journalism. Well, here's what that sounds like.
I was resistant to come back in because I had made a promise that I would never come back to prison.
Yeah.
But once I got back in here, I knew it was exactly where I needed to be.
It's been a really rewarding experience for me. After doing this for a couple of years, I've only been out for 3 years after a long stay in federal system. And I'm at the point now of doing this where I'm seeing students getting out that we met through outreach that are on campus now and watching them excel. I mean, they're not just succeeding, they're excelling and exceeding expectations and doing phenomenal.
AI 4237 warehouse ticket attached to my existence. I am more than that. Inmate, move out of the way of the CDCR staff, for you do not deserve the dignity of walking down the same concrete as me. But I am more than that.
I'll take this saying from another gentleman who does a lot of work in criminal justice reform. People that are close to the problem are close to the solution. And so having people that have been inside facilitate these programs and share how they navigated the system, came home, and have been successful while reentering society is the best way to model, and I think it's the best way to help our brothers and sisters inside find their way to freedom.
Pelican Bay Unlocked is a podcast created by prisoners here at Pelican Bay State Prison, offering the public an unfiltered view into the reality of prison life and its culture. Throughout this show, you will hear the voices of men sharing their thoughts, feelings, and opinions on a wide range of topics via stories, interviews, and group discussions. You will also hear original songs and poetry expressing their personal perspectives while depicting their life experiences and personal journeys during incarceration. It is the hopes of Unlocked to dispel the negative images attributed to prisoners while displaying the redemptive qualities of our humanity in furtherance of rehabilitation and reentry. Where truth meets reality, we are Pelican Bay Unlocked.
Pelican Bay, Pelican Bay, Pelican Bay.
Unlocked. Where truth meets reality. What's up, bro? What's happening?
What's up, man? Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Kay. Today, we want to touch bases on basically like the CGA graduation that was put on by ARC. Why don't you tell us what ARC stands for?
The Anti-Recidivism Coalition, and they basically push for and advocate for a lot of laws to get passed. And what they have up here is they're teaching, criminal and gang anonymous, parole board readiness, and the youth offender program to help guys understand like emotional intelligence and stuff like that. And I think they kind of just started it because they recognized that there was a need for it. So
right.
Like we have AA, NA, and stuff like that.
Exactly, really, but just think about like you have NA, AA, and then you have Criminal Gangs Anonymous. So like I think that like speaks within itself that the need for programs to evolve to basically like serve the needs of the people. You know what I'm saying? When people are in prison and we go through a lot of different things, we have a lot of different programs, but what program actually tries to take you away from the lifestyle that got you locked up? You know what I'm saying? Some people might have been locked up for being on drugs, being on alcohol, but some people didn't use drugs and alcohol. So I think that having a criminal gangster lifestyle is what led most of us here. The people that they have actually running these groups are people who've been in prison, people who come from these lifestyles, people who come from the communities that we come from. So when we see them, we see the possibility of what we could be, because when they see us, they see what they used to be. You know what I'm saying? So we understand each other.
Not only that, it's like, so they've been through the system. So the Hope and Redemption team, HART, are all former lifers. It's like 5 to 10 of them. And they've been through the system and they've been through the programs. And what they recognized when they left was like, yo, we haven't touched bases on this the crime and gang addiction.
Yeah.
Or a lot of guys are going to board and they're just not ready. So we have to teach these things to our people.
Right.
And they came back and they recognized that need and they're catering to that need because they are former lifers.
Right.
They get the problem, and it's hard to go in the board and just tell basically the board like, hey, I was addicted to the criminal lifestyle, the criminal behavior in terms where it's, layman terms and not just psychology, because they have CBT, but they don't really touch on the
it doesn't cover all the bases, because a lot of people have deep seated traumas and things like that cause them to act the way they act and do the things they do and be susceptible to different types of lifestyles. But overall, I think that even looking at the way the program is ran, like for like the board readiness program, I think that group right there alone, because the way that the laws are changing and the fact that a lot of people do have hope because they will be getting home, they will be getting dates, and they will have an opportunity to actually get to the streets, that preparing them for board, it's different between telling somebody that they have the options of going to these different classes and these different groups, but when you actually give the person the answers to the questions and then you question them to see how much introspection they've done into their own lives, to actually see if they're ready, to actually see if they, everybody deserves a second chance, but you have to work. If you don't work for it, you don't deserve it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody deserves the opportunity for a second chance, but actually being given that second chance comes from the hard work and dedication you put in to actually rehabilitate and reform yourself.
You real, man. Dreams without action is just a delusion.
Yeah, so I think that with the fellas down there at ARC, we want to commend them, and the guys that are doing the CJA programs throughout these California institutions, we also want to commend them too, because there's a lot of men and women who work together towards, these prison reforms and changing these laws and actually coming up with these groups that are actually more reflective of what's needed and not a cookie cutter approach to actually rehabilitation and trying to get people's minds and focus and bringing them back to the community so they can be good neighbors and fathers and sons and so on and so forth. There's a lot of mothers, a lot of fathers, brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, even grandparents in prison. So I think that society kind of forgets that we're people that actually come from the street. We didn't come from some foreign country or some foreign planet. We actually came from the same communities that you guys live in now. It's just that, some of us made mistakes, and there are a lot of us in here who are actually repentive of the mistakes we've made. So I think that given the opportunity for us to actually show society and maybe show our families, show the administrations, show the lawmakers and people who actually put in the work to give us these opportunities, that we're ready to make change and be a part of that change. And I think that ARC has shown that, because those same guys, like we said before, have been in prison.
Yeah. And I think that's the greatest thing. They teach the curriculum, they come in here, but for a lot of baby kids like me, just seeing them, like, okay, that's truth. I can see that. That's facts. That happens. It works. Yeah.
With that said, we want to take you into this ARC CGA graduation here at Pelican Bay State Prison, B Yard.
From 2012 till now, ARC has passed 17 different state laws. 17. We've only been in existence 6 years. If you think of the power and how we pass those laws is even more important. The key to us passing those laws has literally been the voices of the people that are formerly incarcerated. SB 260, SB 261, SB 9, 1308, all those laws that have been passed. When we write them, we get a sponsor, a legislator to sponsor them, and then we go advocate. We literally go in and we talk about our lives, how we shifted our lives. This would help. We train, we prepare, we go and we talk to these different states legislators. And if you think about it, 17 pieces of legislation from us, people just like us. My name is Sam Lewis. I'm the CEO of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I'm also formerly incarcerated. So I spent 24 years inside the Department of Corrections. I've now been home 8 years. Currently just working on continuing to build out more support for our men and women inside the institution as well as outside the institutions.
Right. So tell us a couple of the things that ARC does, in and outside of prisons.
So currently inside the prisons, we have the Hope and Redemption team, a team of now 9 former life prisoners that go into 8, 9, 10 prisons. So those include Pelican Bay, Calapat, Centinela, Ironwood, Donovan, Kern, North Kern, and Corcoran. We run 3 different rehabilitative programs that we created, including Avatar, which is a board prep, but it also deals with relapse prevention. So that's our main focus inside prisons. We also do some programming inside CCWF and CIW. We're hoping to actually start a women's Hope and Redemption team soon.
Okay.
We are also about to start a DJJ intensive Hope and Redemption team. So that will be an iHeart. So that's going to be in our juvenile facilities inside the Department of Corrections.
Right.
Where we'll literally, again, have former lifers, younger lifers that have demonstrated both through their actions inside and coming home that they have the ability to help others that are inside and guide them home. On the outside, we try to remain innovative. We have the first ever firefighters program in conjunction with CDCR and the California Conservation Corps, where men and women that have been firefighters while inside can now come home and through CAL FIRE actually become firefighters, wildland firefighters. We offer housing for long-term, people who serve long terms. We also have housing for our DJJ youth. We have therapy at every site, so we have office in Sacramento, office in Los Angeles, and we make sure that our members have free access to therapy. I'd like to say I think it's vitally important and something that we pass up often as people that have been traumatized by the system.
Yeah, it seemed like you guys are pretty proactive in the community, and a lot of the things that you guys are doing are actually needed. And I think one of the main things from you guys' program or from your staff is that you guys have people that are formerly incarcerated. And that makes a difference to us in here because it allows us to actually see people who walked the walk that we've walked, you know what I'm saying, and actually have made a difference in themselves, which has actually spawned a difference in the community. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a motivator. It's like inspirational.
Thank you, brother. So that was literally the vision. In other words, I'll take this saying from another gentleman who does a lot of work in criminal justice reform. People that are close to the problem are close to the solution. And so having people that have been inside facilitate these programs and share how they navigated the system, came home, and have been successful while reentering society is the best way to model, and I think it's the best way to help our brothers and sisters inside find their way to freedom. The other part that I think is vitally important, our staff is 70% formerly incarcerated.
Right.
But we don't have all the answers. That's why I say 70%. It's important to have people that have not been incarcerated as part of our staff. It's important to have people that have not been incarcerated as part of this movement in criminal justice reform. And I think sometimes that may get lost when I've heard in some instances where people say, well, why are celebrities involved? If you go back to any movement, we were discussing this last night, think about the civil rights movement in the 60s. Muhammad Ali was a boxer, but he spoke up. Aretha Franklin spoke up. Stevie Wonder spoke up. You had performers and entertainers that spoke up. And even if you think about when men came back from Vietnam and had PTSD and no one was listening to them, celebrities stepped up. And that was how many Vietnam vets started being able to be heard about their PTSD. So in this movement, in criminal justice reform, I think it's important to make sure that we have solid coalitions. And though we may have different ways of getting things done, welcome all of these different organizations, but always the voice, in my opinion, of the reform should come from those that have lived it, experienced it, and understand what it feels like to be locked up in a cage for decades. I think that's vitally important because when a person comes home and wants to share the humanity that's still behind these walls, it has to come from a place of both love and understanding. I'm looking forward to, we have some things that we're going to be rolling out in the next year or two.
All right.
Super innovative in the area of careers. So we're constantly working, and again, the formula is literally listening to people that are incarcerated, listening to people that are formerly incarcerated, engaging our community partners, engaging our other allies, and finding ways to take those ideas
right
and make them into something that's tangible that helps both heal our community and get people where they need to be and live their best lives.
All right, so at this time, we're going to start our graduation ceremony, right? So I know we wanted to get the cap and gowns. Unfortunately, due to time, we're going to start running it. That way you guys can get your pictures as you get your column hopefully soon, okay? I'm going to open up with my speech, and then I'm going to extend an invitation to any of the visitors who would like to come up here and say a few words to the rest of the graduates.
So hi, my name is Jacob Brevard, and I am the Associate Director of Inside Programs for the Anti-Recidivism Coalition.
Yes, sir.
And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the challenges and some of the challenges and some of the benefits I got from being paroled and being able to come back in and talk and represent the fellas.
Right.
So I got out on July 3rd of 2014, and it was a beautiful day, man.
I bet it was, bro. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I got to go out and enjoy with my family, and when I first got out there, it's about my family. But then I realized that part of my family is the guys that's in here in prison.
Right.
And I got a call from Sam, and I was resistant to come back in because I had made a promise that I would never come back to prison.
Yeah.
But once I got back in here, I knew it was exactly where I needed to be. But it was a difficult time to get back in here. I had butterflies in my stomach, and I really I didn't feel comfortable for the first time. I didn't really feel comfortable, and I realized in that moment that it was the first time I had ever walked into prison. I had always been driven into prison. I had never
you was on the vans, the Grey Gooses, you know what I'm saying, shackles and chains and things like that. But I think that it's a beautiful thing for, especially it's like inspirational and motivating for brothers like us that are still in here.
And thank you for that. But for me, everybody talks about change, and for me, it's not about change. It's about going back to who you really are.
Exactly.
So a lot of, like, for me, people told me who I was. You don't do this, you don't do that. We do this that way. We do this way.
Right.
And I had to realize that I get to make those choices. Life is about choices, and I get to make the choice of how I show up, and I choose to show up in a positive and respectful and caring manner. Because to me, it's all about public safety. I don't want anybody to be harmed, or I don't want anybody to go out there and do anything stupid. And the guys that's inside of prison, they're some of the best people in the world.
Right.
They have the best character in the world. They're most loyal people in the world. They just need opportunities. And we create those opportunities by the way we show up in life. And I'm sure that that there's a lot of guys in here that they're going to make a difference once they get out. But it's about building character.
I'm very proud of you, Maurice. I'm very proud of you. If you knew the journey that we were on and we're still on, you would be proud of him. He's very humble now. We bump heads. But Mama always wins.
Don't ask me what I'm doing up here, because I don't do public speaking. But you know what? I just want to say how proud I am of this old man over there. I guarantee he's the oldest man in the room right now. That's my father. And I wouldn't be up here because my mom would be up here. And 10 months ago, that man's wife was stolen from us. And it would have been a really easy time for him to give up and not fight through this program and not fight for change. And every single day he suits up and he does. And I could not be prouder of you. She was his rock. She fought, she sets up the council. She was a defense investigator my entire life since before I was born. She believed in redemption. She believed in rehabilitation. And she stood by his side for over half of my life. And, she died waiting for him to come home. He never got to walk through the doors or come home to her. But someday he's going to come home to us and his granddaughter.
Yeah, I'm Kunlyna Chapin. I work on the public policy team at the Anti-Recidivism Coalition.
You're basically instrumental in pushing forward some of this legislation that's been coming out over the last couple of years through ARC.
Yeah, the ARC policy team, like you said, we work to pass reforms to replace regressive legislation with evidence-based bills that actually consider people on the inside and their families, people who have been impacted by legislation.
All right, so far, like, what bills have you guys actually worked on that have actually got passed, and then which ones are you guys going to be working on in the near future?
Mm-hmm. A huge one, or a huge group of laws that we passed that we always talk about, that we passed with many partners, Human Rights Watch and other organizations across California, is SB 260, 261, and AB 1308.
That impacted a lot of people.
Yes,
that was one of the ones that I've actually seen people in the yard who might have been not willing or resisted to going to programs, and maybe a few cats that were like, had violent histories in past and still would not let go of that mentality. But knowing that that bill had been passed actually impacted them and made them start participating in programs towards rehabilitation, hopefully, you know what I'm saying, towards getting a board date or at least preparing for board. So I have to applaud you guys on that, because that was a big one that I've actually witnessed it myself. Cats who've been down 15, 20, 25 years, even 30 years, actually hopeful towards getting released through the board because of that.
Yeah, that's great to hear. That's honestly one of the best things about doing this work and doing this work together is we pass bills like 260, 261, or AB 1308 and get to watch our communities become changed and improved because we have people coming home, family members, friends, people, come home and then they join the staff at ARC. So many of my coworkers came home on some of these bills. The former policy director actually came home on a bill that we passed.
So my name is Mark. I'm from the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I myself am formerly incarcerated. I spent 21 and a half years in prison off a life sentence. I was released on September 12th, 2018. So I've been out of prison approximately 16 months. And when I got out of prison, I walked into the Anti-Recidivism Coalition's office just to say thank you, because ARC helped champion a law that ultimately led to my release, specifically 1308. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, if that law did not pass, I would still be in prison today. So the day after I was released, I walked in there with my sister and my daughter just to say thank you. And then I liked the atmosphere of the office. So in that office, throughout the state, we basically have 62 full-time staff members. 68% of our staff are formerly incarcerated. We believe in empowering formerly incarcerated. So going into that atmosphere and them understanding where I was coming from is what made me go back every day. So I went back every day, even though I was living in a transition home. I started volunteering, sweeping, mopping, taking out the trash, cleaning windows, just as a token of my gratitude. Eventually, I got hired as a paid intern, making $13.25 an hour, I believe, and I did that for a couple months. And then on January 5th, 2019, I was hired to the Hope and Redemption team, which brings me to Pelican Bay State Prison. So initially, I was facilitating classes in Donovan and San Diego, and then I heard about Pelican Bay. And I really wanted to come here because I know there's a false narrative in the media about Pelican Bay. False narrative being everyone who's here is the worst of the worst savages and all the negative stereotypes that come along with it. I knew that was not true, so I wanted to come here, challenge that narrative, and empower the men confined in this prison to also challenge that narrative and to empower individuals to get home to their family. So that's what our mission is here. We facilitate 3 classes here, which is Criminals and Gang Members Anonymous. We facilitate a YOP class, which is kind of a character development class where we develop men into mentors. And the last one is a BPH class, which is a laser-like focus on the board process, so the men confined in this prison understand exactly what it takes to get found suitable. So those are the 3 classes that we do here, and I consider it a great honor to be here. Like the hospitality myself and Joseph, who's my colleague, have been shown here by the men in this prison really makes the effort worth it. So all the sacrifices we have made pale in comparison to the rewards we receive, and tomorrow we'll be having our first graduation. The men on this yard will be coming out. The men on A yard, in fact, we'll be having 5 graduations in 2 days. So the entire prison will be graduating, 237 people in total, and we look forward to it.
Oh man, that's right. When you were incarcerated, what steps did you take in order for you to what made you start wanting a program and earn your freedom back?
Absolutely. So that's a good question. My first, so I was locked up April 16th, 1997. It is when I got locked up, and then around a year later, I landed in prison, and I was sent directly to High Desert, and that's where I did my first 4.5 years. But my first 11 years in prison, there was no real desire to rehabilitate. I felt hopeless. I was looking at all the empirical evidence, right? And it said if you had a life sentence, you would spend the rest of your life in prison. So fast forward to June 5th, 2007, when I graduated from Palo Verde College at Ironwood State Prison. For me, that was the pivotal moment where I decided that I needed to change. And kind of how that happened was I graduated. I was asked to make a speech there, so I made the speech. I called my mother later on that day. She was unable to attend the graduation because she was very sick and she was living on the East Coast. And I remember when I talked to her, I could tell, one, for the first time in a very long time, she was proud of what her son had accomplished, and I knew that I had caused her a lot of heartache just by my incarceration. So, and then I realized this is kind of what makes life worth living. These triumphs that I'm experiencing on this day, and also the struggles that we go through to get to those triumphs. And then I realized that's what I took from my victim's family. So I went to prison for first-degree murder, and on that day, it finally registered that what I did was wrong. And I decided I have to change. So I set about the course of change, which was very difficult. It wasn't like I turned into an angel in one day. But I started doing a lot of self-help groups. I started challenging all the warped beliefs I held at the time, making sure that I was replacing those with healthy belief systems, and I continued to educate myself. And then I surrounded myself with individuals who were on that same path.
Where truth meets reality. Pelican Bay Unlocked. Reality meets.
In this next segment, we would like to present to you an interview with Andrew Winn and Gunnar Johnson, who represent Project Rebound, an organization that is committed to providing assistance to the incarcerated community with certain aspects of reintegrating back into society and transitioning into a state college and or university once we are released. You will hear the remarkable story of two formerly incarcerated men who had faced a similar struggle as some of us face now and overcame these stumbling blocks to pursue a higher education and the work they are now engaged in to help those who have walked in the same shoes they have walked before. Here to introduce you to the men is Marco Garcia, reporting for Pelican Bay Unlocked. Open your ears.
This is Marco Garcia here with the Pelican Bay Unlocked podcast. I'm here today with a group of people from Project Rebound. You guys want to introduce yourselves to the listeners?
Hello, my name is Andrew Winn. I'm the director of Project Rebound at Sacramento State and the policy co-chair for the Project Rebound Consortium.
My name is Gunnar Johnson. I work as outreach coordinator for Project Rebound at Sacramento State.
So what is Project Rebound and what are you guys doing for us out there in the streets?
Yeah, so Project Rebound is a campus equity program on the CSU campuses, on 11 CSU campuses. And what we do is we're a campus equity program where we support people who are formerly incarcerated with achieving their goals in higher education. We are advocates, we are students ourselves, but mostly we're there to make sure that our folks, people who've done time, have the same opportunity at higher education as people who haven't done time. And so that includes a number of different things, including addressing food insecurities, providing support with receiving textbooks. It is attending conferences, getting folks internships, getting people prepared not just for higher education and their time in higher education, but after they've earned their degree and looking for the career of their choice, that they come out well equipped to go into the career of their choice.
That's pretty cool. What sort of advocacy work do you guys do with this?
Being in Sacramento, it's important that we, in the capital city, that we are in the state capitol and telling our stories, because for many, many years, our stories were never heard. Matter of fact, we were muted or we were silenced, and we were kept away from being able to speak for ourselves. We speak to assembly members, senators, their aides, people in the governor's office, the governor, whatever it takes to make sure that there is a more fair outcome in the systems that we're living under. So we do that type of advocacy work. We also advocate within the county level and the city level. That's where we see the quickest and the most impact in terms of how law is applied.
So as community outreach coordinator, I often go into correctional institutions and talk to guys that are working on their associate's degrees while they're incarcerated and let them know that there is a pathway to higher education. We really map out the whole process from application, to getting financial aid, and then, like Andrew said, all the way through earning your degree, hopefully a graduate degree, and then being career ready, and try to propel you in that direction, and to actually have a career once you're done with your educational process. It's been a really rewarding experience for me after doing this for a couple of years. I've only been out for 3 years after a long stay in federal system. And I'm at the point now of doing this where I'm seeing students getting out that we met through outreach that are on campus now, and watching them excel. I mean, they're not just succeeding, they're excelling and exceeding expectations and doing phenomenal. And it's incredibly rewarding to see that transformation and see people get out and see these opportunities and watch it come to fruition. We want to present incarcerated students with not only the tools that they'll need to transition to the university when they get out, and let them know, demystify higher education, at least at the university level. Let them know that not only can you get a bachelor's degree, but you can get a graduate degree, and also let them know that your voice is valued. It's not like it was 10 years ago when we were dismissed at all levels of government. Now we're finding assembly members and state senators that want us there and want us to co-sponsor bills, and our voice has value now, and the tide is turning. The people that are really pushing this momentum are formerly incarcerated individuals, and we have a level of credibility when we're talking about this stuff. And so I like to encourage our students not only to get into the classroom and do well, that's our goal, but to get involved. And I think most of our students are. And we're outperforming students too. That's another thing. The discipline we learn in here often translates to being a very good student out there if you apply that. And our students on average, I think it's a 3.4 GPA. And the students on campus, the general pop students, I guess you want to call them, the kids on campus are getting like a 2.8. So we're outperforming students.
Resources are essentially allocated based on each campus. So each campus has the autonomy to decide how they want to offer direct student support. I know that Cal State Fullerton, they have the John Irwin House, named after the founder of Project Rebound, John Irwin. And people have paroled straight from the gates to the John Irwin House. And they have a softer transition from, long-term incarceration to, getting into higher education. So that's one example. At Sacramento State, we offer book support. So we make sure that students, some of the barriers to getting books is kind of, we can help them overcome it.
Our approach is that the basic needs need to be met, because how are you going to study for a midterm if you don't have a house? Right. So housing insecurity is an issue. So we partner with local community-based organizations that will provide that service, and food insecurities, medical. First thing, I doing outreach. I go to the PAC meeting for recent parolees every month in Sacramento area, which is a provider fair essentially for people in the first month of getting out, that has a network of services. So making sure those different needs are met, and it is a need-based approach. And, we try to provide wraparound services based on what someone needs. That's really important to get our students the right start they need. Also, there's like a 5-month gap between when you enroll at the university and when you actually begin college. So we'll actually apply, if a student's transfer ready, we know their date, we'll apply on their behalf before they get out. So there's some continuity from them studying here to when they get to the streets, and there's not a long break in their educational experience.
Where truth meets reality.
Yard down. Pelican Bay unlocked. Resume. Miss Eagle, program coordinator of the Pelican Bay Scholars Program, invited members of the Pelican Bay podcast to an event showcasing men enrolled in the College of the Redwoods Pelican Bay campus, where the men showcased the Golden Four: oral communication, written communication, critical thinking, mathematics, and quantum reasoning. The showcase featured men who presented artwork, poetry, spoken word, and rap, with Erin Tariq Turner, who brought the house down for the many members in attendance from campuses from all across the state. California State University's and Humboldt State University's Project Rebound, Andrew and Tony Wallen, formerly incarcerated Students Club, Cypress Community College's Fight Club, Susan Owens, who traveled from Orange County to be here, California State University Northridge Revolutionary Scholars Project members Irene and Lilia Gonzalez, CSU's Long Beach Rising Scholars, CSU Dominguez Hill Scholars United members Cynthia, UC Berkeley's Underground Scholars, and Joseph with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. The event went well as the guests and the men within shared information to help better understand each other's needs on the journey toward freedom, redemption, and goals of obtaining a higher education. A great thanks goes out to Miss Eagle for inviting myself, Barry Woods, Henry Ruiz, and Mr. Chris of the Pelican Bay Unlocked podcast in to cover and be part of this very important event. And thanks also goes to the many volunteers who traveled near and far to the event to provide information and support to the men inside Pelican Bay. This is another installment of Pelican Bay Unlocked, where truth meets reality.
All right, today we're here with three individuals that are from College of the Redwoods. Can you explain to us what this is about today and what's going on and what you guys are going to do here today and all that?
Yeah, well, it's a workshop right here where we're going to give, basically many inmates are going to give presentations to show and highlight our potential, our talent in the way, and also explain why education is important and the belief that we all have behind education, how much we value it, how it has changed our reality in here, our view on life in here, the culture in here, the importance that we feel it is in pursuing our life. If someday we should ever get out, we have that path to follow and continue to keep us in that right direction.
So it's not just one class that this is about; it's the whole college system that in the prison system, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so like, what are you going to be doing today?
Today I'll be doing a poem called "The Darkness Within." It's pretty much describing how I started off my life in a messed up situation, affected by violence, death, and sadness, but at the same time,
the darkness within. My life began from younger years when pain ignited its flame into my heart from death and tears, a madness I could not contain, from which I ran with speed and might into warfare and lawless ends, amid the world of day and night, when it first appeared, my demon. Some call it spirit, mind, or soul, the ghost within, yet to be seen. But I call it my inferno, the fire of my will and being, the dark one of my inner thoughts, whose whispering voice became mine, the shadow that I never fought, but followed on a silver line. And into a cemented world where metal doors and concrete walls reflected the past I buried and dreams I had but never saw, wherein the realization came and transformation that took place from education in the brain, belief and knowledge interlaced. And now I stand, though imperfect, with visions for degrees unreal, kindled by a social project, and hunger I do keep concealed. But every now and then it comes from darkness out into the light, for still the beast in my heart drums, but now to wisdom for the fight. Thank you.
Who we got here, Jimmy?
Well, my name is Jaime Navarro. I go by Jimmy, and I'm pretty much going to discuss my transformation from the moment I entered prison.
Yeah.
Pretty much from the late 90s and how I seen myself evolve, but not only myself, I also seen everybody else in this culture evolve and pretty much change their lives. We went from a bad situation where it used to be a lot of hostilities amongst different races. There was a lot of things that were just
negative.
Negative, yes. We always found ways to attack each other, but never build each other up. And during that time, I ended up running into a lot of good mentors. A lot of people who actually took the time to guide me right, to tell me, look, man, there's something better than simple hostilities. Why don't you pick up a book? Why don't you learn about this? You learn about that.
Yeah.
And throughout my evolution, that was something that I pretty much applied myself to.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming. It's difficult for me to actually speak in front of people, but I'm going to give it my best shot. 22 years ago, I was sentenced to life in prison. I was 18 years old when I first set foot on a prison yard, and it felt like I was in a foreign land. Everyone around me seemed to belong to a group that acted like a tribe. You had African Americans and others on one side of the yard, and Mexicans and whites on the other side. There was an obvious tension that kept these groups divided. As I assimilated into one of these tribes, I was swiftly indoctrinated with the basic education on how to survive and navigate through the daily routine of prison life. Given my lack of real education, my misguided ignorance landed me in a dark and isolated place where I had nothing but internal shadows to sort out. Introspection led me to question my identity and purpose in life. Done with my temporary solitary confinement, I was transferred here to Pelican Bay Prison. I was only 24 years old and lost. I met a fellow prisoner named Zeke. He was an older African American who had recently left a dark place himself, the SHU. We sparked up a conversation about our life experiences and struggles, and before we knew it, we were talking about social issues, cultures, ideas. His knowledge made an impact on me. It triggered my inquisitive side to emerge. My new friend and mentor Zeke introduced me to Malcolm X, George Jackson, Huey P. Newton, and many others. Through these readings and Zeke's guidance, I began to understand oppression, repression, dehumanization, and the power the system had over our uneducated minds. Yes, still not mature enough to apply my knowledge and help myself out, I ended up in that seg once again. This time around, it was during the historical hunger strikes that brought much needed attention to the inhumane treatment and suffering that prisoners in here were experiencing in the SHU. It was a bittersweet time. Bitter because many of the men were becoming ill and dying to liberate themselves from the oppression. As word was seeping through the walls that a hunger strike was soon to come, and being in the hole, I knew that I would be an active participant to this resistance. I felt proud to know that after a long time of living under the oppressive conditions, the heart of the lion, the spirit of a panther, and the strength of a jaguar had found common ground to make their roar heard. This historical event solidified my internal desire to educate myself in order to do what Zeke did for me. It was time to mature and enjoy the roar for myself. This collective roar wasn't only made possible by men in prison, but also by those in society who heard what was going on behind these walls. Thanks to these men and women who were quick to assist the struggle, the roar was amplified, not only nationally, but also worldwide. It's my personal belief that much of what change in prison could have never happened if it wasn't for some type of education or commitment to do away with the oppressive conditions that kill the soul. Since being enrolled in College of the Redwoods, I've gained awareness of myself. I've created a number of goals, and I've met people who have encouraged me to continue to educate myself. Like I said, it's very hard for me to talk in public. I could clown around, I could do other things, but it's difficult to actually, and it's hard for me to sometimes write on paper. I could express it if I have 2-3 people around me or 4 people, But one thing that education has really done for me, it's really set me free. It's really taken me out of this place. It's opened my mind up a lot more. It's given me a lot more to be hopeful for, a lot more to pretty much aspire to. When I was young, I grew up in a home where we didn't amount to nothing because there was a lot of things that were negative in there. And now that I'm in school, like I said, I feel proud for myself and everyone in here too. I see that, we encourage each other and we all come together and like somebody else said, we're a community, and I take pride in that. So I thank everybody that's present, and that's it.
Our first speaker has recently completed the requirements for his AA degree and has a speech for us today. Please welcome Millard Baker.
Thank you all for coming here today. I have no pressure, of course, talking in front of everybody. But I do want to say some things that really is important to not only me, but my fellow students. So there's a theologist named Karl Barth who once said that though nobody could go back and make a brand new start, anybody could start from now and make a brand new ending. We take that to heart here. And through our learnings, we are actually living out those words. The narrative of our life hasn't always been a good one, but the guys who could take control of their life and rewrite that narrative is what transformation is all about. The Pelican Bay Scholars program has been prospering since its infancy, and as one of the guys who was in the beginning cohort, I literally watched this program change people. Guys are actually anxious. They're actually upset because they want to get into class so bad. And seeing that determination is welcoming. And I'm even more grateful to be enrolled. Without a doubt, college changes the moxie of people, which is a benefit to society. In fact, statistics show those with a higher education has a recidivism rate of 27% compared to 62% without. So the benefit of higher education is evident. And none of this would take place without those advocating on our behalf. And for that, we are truly grateful. The United States government uses a symbol of the American eagle, which represents freedom and power. The Pelican Bay Scholars also has a symbol, and ironically, it also is an eagle. Miss Eagles. So Miss Eagles is a liaison with College of the Redwoods, and though her workload is heavy, she still gives us her time. She updates us on the program. She's easy to talk to. She's a leader. She's encouraging, and she did not pay me to say these kind words. But, we pay homage to Miss Eagles and those who advocate on our behalf. And I think it's necessary that we owe you guys a round of applause, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Now, this upcoming scholar is extremely artistic and sincere. He'll be communicating through two modes of creativity, music and spoken word. Give a round of applause to this vessel of positive energy, Edwin Turner.
All right, the first one is a rap. I thought it would be beneficial for me to show you me, who I truly am. And then the second one is a poem, and I thought that it'd also be beneficial if I show you how I redefine myself. So the first is, we don't have a beat, so if you know the words, I'm pretty sure most of us know the chorus. You can sing along if you want, but it starts like, it's been a long time coming, but a change gon' come. It's been a long time coming, but a change gon' come. It's been a long time coming, but a change gon' come. It's been a long time coming, but a change gon' come. As far back as I remember, no celebrating holidays, no Christmas in December. I learned early how to hate my mother, but defend her. I remember frozen corn dogs and sandwiches for dinner, a problem child. Teacher never cared, nor did he ever ask. Was my problems up in school related to my dad? Or was it motivated by my mother being sad for having kids that she never wished she ever had? My subconscious mind helped me leave it all behind and start to focus on this culture that engendered crime. My mama said I end up dead or with a lot of time. If those are two choices that I got, it's time to shine. Broken, a reality in my group unspoken. When no one cares about you, tell me what's the hope and hoping. Drugs, manifestation of suicide intentions. Loneliness when your name is something that no one mentions. Growing up knowing American dream is not for you. Relegated to poverty no matter what you do. A slave to the corporation, forget a 9 to 5. Materialistic culture produce murderers and vultures. They say that I don't have the right to live, but we the people. Make you think about who they mean by we the people. A gang member, not a human being. The thought selective, society's perception open that they change perspectives. But look, it's been a long time coming, but a change gon' come. It's been a long time coming, but a change gon' come. It's been a long time coming, but a change gon' come. It's been a long time coming, but a change gon' come. All right, they never considered the impact of my community, surrounded by destructive forces, what that stuff would do to me. Adolescent, imitate behavior that was cool to me. Mother made it seem like every problem here was due to me. Insight into my past helped me figure out the truth. Peer pressure, inflated ego is what I would use, a defense mechanism for fear being abused, rooted up in circumstances of being bullied in school. No epidemic, no government oversight, no analysis that he was too poor to know wrong from right. Look, I had to do it on my own like Kobe and the Lakers. Avoid the status quo, ignore the haters. Self-help, helping myself like the world to end. With the hope that one day I live in the world again. Once forsaken, I now acquired an education. An AA to reinforce on the dreams I'm chasing. My story is reality for all those growing up in poverty, wearing the same clothes. Peer pressure starts to feel good about the shoes we stole. Crime synonymous, pursuit of happiness, the main goal. A jury of our peers, a right that I am not afforded. No fair trial with evidence because I can't afford it. So let's admit it, the system was made to convict him. Destroy the brother, his family, and everybody with him. No conspiracy theory, I'm hoping that you hear me. A reality, lower class human beings just living. The same people that law enforcement is out there killing. Yeah, we accused of being lazy and out there chilling. It's time for a change point and the blame won't do a thing. 10 years is too restrained because he in the game. 20 years is too restrained because he told the thing. And we gonna keep on pushing for this till you feel our pain. The next one is a poem. And this poem is kind of deep to me, right? But we'll just go ahead.
Before you start, man, give it up though, man.
I appreciate that. It was good. The next one is a poem, right? And it's called Me. So it goes. It is iterated in the United States Constitution that I am a slave, but I am more than that. AI 4237 warehouse ticket attached to my existence. I am more than that. Inmate, move out of the way of the CDCR staff, for you do not deserve the dignity of walking down the same concrete as me. But I am more than that. I am a father who fertilized the egg of a queen and produced royalty. A spitting image of me, I am he who was supposed to kiss her to sleep. I am the sun, moon, and the stars, universal consciousness within all. I am cosmic man. I am a son who yearns for the wisdom of his father and the love of his mother. I am he who has acquired a GED and soon to be college degree. Success is on the horizon, yet I arise in opposition to who you perceive me to be. Truth, courage, humility are some of the things that I perceive to be essential to my existence. Listening is a priority in the conversation. The implementation of positive behavior so all those within my community can see the beauty of rehabilitation. Hold on. Not the rehabilitation imposed by the aggressive persuasion of immoral police, but the rehabilitation that naturally arises out of a broken soul who sees the sunrise for the first time, just like me. See, you cannot define me by your racist notions of criminality. I am my own success. I am peace.
Today we're talking to
Susan Owens.
And Tony Wallen.
y'all came in for a showcase, for a college showcase here at Pelican Bay State Prison. And can I ask you, what is your incentive for coming here?
I came here to listen to the men who live here's thoughts and hearts so that I could go share it with the community that I get to be in, to empower them to help this movement and make a difference.
And are you a part of any organization out there that also that focuses on the prison aspect, the prison, the pipeline, or the pipeline back to the community?
I'm at a community college called Cypress, and we started a fight club from incarceration to education, and we just started a little program where we can give some money for books and food to the students who are in the club, who are either system impacted or previously incarcerated, and we're just joining the movement to see where we can help.
Can you provide the information to us so that we can spread the information to the prisoners about what steps do they have to take to reach out to your program, or so that they can become associated with your program? If you know it offhand, if you don't, we can get with you later on.
That's okay,
get it to me and I'll get it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
But I would love to help anyone sign up for school.
What county is it in?
Orange County.
Oh, okay.
And Tony, you've been here before.
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell us about your connection here now?
My connection here now, I've been here about a dozen times. I feel more comfortable with y'all than out there.
Okay.
The connection for coming up here this time for this university workshop is one to see
University. What university would that be?
So I'm with Humboldt State, and we are establishing Project Rebound, and we also started forming the Incarcerated Students Club, very similar with Fight, which we were just talking about, and so our next movement is to establish Project Rebound on HSU, because with clubs, I'll be graduating, I'm a senior, so I'll be graduating, and with clubs, if students don't come in, the club kind of dissipates. So you want something established. And Project Rebound for CSU system is that.
So you are still a student and or formerly incarcerated too also?
Yes.
So can you talk about your aspect from being incarcerated, going from the prison pipeline back to the community?
Yeah, so so when I got out, I went straight, I had a month in limbo, tried to go back to school, and I just failed. So I went to a rehab, I moved into a halfway house. Some other people on parole were going to a junior college, and I followed suit, and ever since then I've been going from Santa Rosa Junior College, has a great program for formerly incarcerated students, then went to Sac City, which also has a formerly incarcerated students, and then I went to HSU, which didn't have anything, and I started that.
Can I ask you this? Can you provide us any information that you got so that we can connect from here at Pelican Bay with Humboldt State University, so we can get the Humboldt program here?
Let's see. The address.
You can give it to Paul.
Give it to Paul. Give it to Paul, and we can get it. We can get it.
I got it.
And can you please do this? Can you, because we really are interested in these educational programs that's going on, and then also y'all stories, because from where y'all came from to where y'all are at, and it's inspirational for us.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
thank you for coming.
Thank you. I wish we had more time.
Yeah, I know.
I'll be back.
Man,
yeah, Tony will be back.
I'll be back.
I will. Yeah. It's nice meeting you. I can't hug you, but we both get in trouble.
Pelican Bay Unlocked is a production of the audio journalism classes offered at Pelican Bay State Prison in conjunction with the Arts and Corrections program administered by the William James Association. The project is supported by Arts and Corrections, a program of the California Arts Council with funding from the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. To learn more about Project Rebound, visit asi.sfsu.edu/programs/Project Rebound. To check out the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, go to antirecidivism.org. There are links you can just click at pelicanbayunlocked.com to make it easy. You can also check out the Sidebars page on the website for the College of the Redwoods Pelican Bay Scholars Showcase in its entirety. Same with Mark Taylor's interview and Big Mike's interviews at the ARC graduation. We've linked to an interview one of our B Yard guys, Kunlyna Tauch, did with local journalist Tony Wallen about what it's like inside Pelican Bay in the age of Corona. There's also a link to a news segment a local TV station did on Unlocked back before all the crazy started. There's more. Basically, the Sidebars page is jumping off. It's the place to be. One last item. You heard a couple of different mentions of Tori Eagles, site coordinator for the College of the Redwoods at Pelican Bay. The Pelican Bay Scholars all give her a lot of love and respect because she's the person who makes college happen inside the Bay. And we want to echo that sentiment. The week of this recording would have seen CR's second graduation ceremony for inmates who've completed their AA degrees, but of course, all that has been canceled due to the pandemic. And while Tori is scrambling this week to make sure her students all get the recognition they deserve, we figure we should turn that around and say thank you to Tori Eagles for all the work she continues to do for the boys in blue. Thanks, Tori. For all the guys, this is Paul Kritz. Thanks for listening to Pelican Bay Unlocked. We'll hit you up again real soon.